There comes a point in your life when comfort becomes poison, when every excuse feels like a silent death, and when you realize that true freedom doesn't come from doing what you want. It comes from mastering yourself completely. This is the scariest level of discipline, when you stop negotiating with your emotions, when you do what must be done, even when every part of you resists it. It's not about motivation anymore. It's about becoming a force of nature, unmoved by distraction, unstoppable in your mission, and calm in chaos. Those who reach this level do not shout about it. They simply walk alone in silence because their results speak the loudest. There comes a moment when you must stop asking your mind for permission. Because if you keep negotiating with it, you will always lose. The mind is clever. It knows every excuse, every shortcut, every soft escape that feels safe but leads nowhere. It will whisper, "You're tired," when you're only unmotivated. It will say, "You deserve a break," when what you truly deserve is progress. The scariest level of discipline begins the moment you stop listening to that voice and start acting without debate. You see, the mind is like a child. It demands sweets instead of nourishment. It seeks comfort instead of growth. And if you allow it to rule, your potential becomes imprisoned behind invisible bars of hesitation. Every time you say, "I'll do it later," you are feeding the child within you, teaching it that resistance wins. But when you begin to act without negotiation, something inside you shifts. You rise above the mind and become its master, not its servant. Imagine a warrior standing before the battlefield at dawn. The air is cold, the ground hard beneath his feet, and his heart is filled with doubt. But he does not wait for courage to arrive. He steps forward, sword in hand, because the mission demands it. That is what true discipline feels like. It is walking forward even when fear hasn't left your chest. It is silence in the mind and clarity in the soul. When you decide that there will be no negotiation, your actions become clean and simple. You wake up and move. You train your body when it resists. You study when your mind wants distraction. You face the uncomfortable conversations, the difficult work, the long hours, without asking yourself how you feel about them. Feelings are fleeting. Purpose is eternal. The disciplined mind understands this difference deeply. You will notice how quiet life becomes when you stop debating with yourself. There's a peace in it, a quiet power. Most people think discipline is harsh, that it steals joy and freedom. But in truth, discipline is the highest form of freedom. Because once you stop being controlled by the ups and downs of mood, you move freely in any condition, rain or shine, motivation or exhaustion. You move. That steadiness makes you untouchable. At first, feels unnatural. You will crave the old comfort. The mind will resist, scream, and bargain. It will say, "Just this once, skip it." But each time you refuse to listen, you carve a new path in your being. Slowly, you build a stronger version of yourself, one that no longer asks, "Can I?" but simply says, "I will." The power of that transformation is immense. It changes how you walk, how you speak, how you breathe. Understand this: your mind is not your enemy, but it must be trained. It is like a wild horse, untamed, restless, and powerful. If you let it run freely, it will throw you off at the first sign of resistance. But if you learn to hold the reins with patience and consistency, that same wild energy becomes your greatest strength. Discipline is not suppression, it is direction. So, when the alarm rings and your body says no, move anyway. When doubt whispers, move anyway. When you feel small, tired, or uninspired, move anyway. This is how you rise. You do not wait for the perfect moment. you create it through action. The moment you stop negotiating with your mind, you stop living at its mercy and start living with mastery. And one day, you will look back and realize that the most powerful decision you ever made was to no longer seek comfort in the language of excuses. You simply began. That is the day the world will change for you, because the person who no longer negotiates with their mind cannot be stopped. They have already won the war within. There will be days when you wake up with no spark in your chest, when the world feels heavy and your spirit tired. On those days, your emotions will try to pull you away from your purpose. They will whisper, "Not today." But the truth is, the difference between those who succeed and those who only dream lies in what they do when they feel nothing. Routine over emotion, that is the quiet power that builds unshakable lives. Emotions are like the weather, constantly changing, unpredictable, beyond your control. One day they lift you high, and the next they drown you in the storm. But your routine, your disciplined rhythm, is the mountain that stands unmoved by all the changing skies. When you build your life on emotion, you live in chaos. When you build it on routine, you create harmony. You stop being a slave to how you feel and become the architect of what you choose to become. Think of a river that carves through rock, not because it rushes in fury, but because it flows every single day. Quiet persistence shapes mountains. That is the essence of discipline. The greatest results in life are not born from bursts of motivation, but from steady, silent consistency. Your emotions may fluctuate, but your actions must remain. When you learn to keep showing up regardless of how you feel, you become unstoppable. Most people wait for inspiration before they act. But you, if you wish to rise above average, must act to find inspiration. You must reverse the pattern. Do the work first, even when you don't feel ready, and you will watch your emotions align themselves with your movement. You cannot wait for the perfect energy, the perfect mindset, the perfect time. That illusion of perfection has destroyed more dreams than failure ever did. Your routine must become sacred. It is the invisible structure that carries you forward when your willpower fades. If you meditate at dawn, then rise even when your eyes burn. If you train at sunset, then move even when your body aches. If you create, then sit before the empty page, even when no words come. Because every time you choose your routine over your emotions, you strengthen your character. You teach your mind that purpose is greater than feeling. At first, it feels mechanical, soulless, even. You may think, what's the point if I don't feel inspired? But what you are doing is rewiring your entire being. You are building reliability within yourself. You are proving that your word means something even when the world inside you wavers. And one day, the very routine that felt rigid will become your greatest source of peace. Because in a world full of uncertainty, your discipline will become your anchor. You see, the emotional self is fragile. It wants comfort, praise, and ease. But the disciplined self seeks alignment. It doesn't need to feel good to do good. It doesn't need to be motivated to move. When you live by routine, you stop reacting to life and start creating it. You no longer wake up asking, "Do I feel like it?" You wake up saying, "This is what I do." That simple shift changes everything. Understand this deeply. Discipline is not the absence of emotion. It is mastery over it. You are not meant to suppress your feelings, but to prevent them from controlling your direction. Like a calm river under the storm, you keep flowing. You keep building, keep showing up. That is how strength is born. Not in the fire of passion, but in the endurance of repetition. And when the years pass, You will look back and see that the moments when you felt least inspired were the very moments that shaped you most. Because emotion fades, but routine endures. The world may never see the mornings you rose in silence, the nights you worked through doubt, the hours you kept your word when no one was watching. But those unseen moments are the foundation of greatness. So let your routine guide you. Let it be your compass when motivation disappears. Let it remind you that consistency is a form of love, the love you show to your own future. Because in the end, the one who wins is not the one who feels the most, but the one who shows up the most. The loudest warriors are often the weakest ones. The strongest move in silence, unseen and unheard, while the noise of others fades into the distance. Silent execution is the mark of true mastery. It is when your actions no longer require validation, when your growth no longer needs applause, and when your focus becomes so pure that even the thought of showing off feels like a distraction. In a world addicted to attention, you must become the one who works in stillness, where progress breathes quietly and power is cultivated in the dark. Silence is not emptiness, it is concentration. Think of a seed buried beneath the soil. It does not announce its intention to grow. It does not demand to be seen. It simply works, breaking itself open in the darkness, reaching for light that it cannot yet see. That is how true transformation happens. When you stop speaking about your goals and start acting toward them, the universe begins to move with you. Every unseen hour becomes a whisper of power, every small step a secret pact with destiny. Most people lose energy not because they lack discipline, but because they leak their focus through words. They tell everyone what they are going to do, and in that very moment, the energy that should have fueled their actions is spent on conversation. They feel satisfied before they've even begun. But silence protects your energy. It keeps your intentions sacred. It allows your actions to mature without the interference of noise, doubt, or opinion. When you execute in silence, you become untouchable. People will wonder how you move, how you grow, how you transform so effortlessly. But they will never see the hours of solitude, the early mornings, the late nights, the quiet choices that built your strength. They will see the result, not the struggle. And that is how it should be. Because your journey is not a performance, it is a vow to yourself. There is a calm power in walking alone. The silence becomes your companion. The world begins to fade away, and all that remains is your breath, your movement, your purpose. It is in this stillness that the highest level of discipline is born. You no longer need to be seen doing the work. You simply become the work. You don't post about your grind. You live it. You don't explain your dreams. You manifest them. This is how you build momentum that cannot be stopped because it is protected by silence and strengthened by solitude. The path of silent execution is not for the faint-hearted. Demands that you trust the unseen. It requires patience when results are invisible and faith when progress feels slow. But understand this, silence is not a lack of movement. It is refined motion. It is the art of channeling your energy inward until it becomes unstoppable outwardly. While others waste their strength in comparison, you sharpen yours in stillness. So stop announcing your intentions to a world that doesn't understand your vision. Not everyone deserves access to your process. The noise of others can drown the quiet voice of your intuition. Guard your dreams as you would guard a flame from the wind. Protect it until it grows strong enough to light the world. Let your silence be your shield and your discipline be your proof. In time, those who doubted will fall silent too, not because you argued or defended your path, but because your results became undeniable. You owe no explanations to anyone. Your work will speak in a language louder than words ever could, so move quietly, build patiently, rise unseen. And when the world finally notices, let them realize that while they were talking, you were transforming, because real power doesn't shout, it moves in silence and lets the echo of achievement make the noise. Pain is not your enemy. It is the doorway through which every strong soul must pass. The moment you stop running from it, you begin to see it for what it truly is. A teacher, a purifier, a sculptor shaping you into who you are meant to become. Most people spend their lives avoiding pain, chasing comfort, and wondering why their spirit feels weak. But strength does not grow in comfort, it grows in resistance. Just as a sword is forged in fire, your character is forged in the moments that burn, the moments that test your patience, your faith, your will. Pain is not here to destroy you, it is here to introduce you to yourself. Think of the seed buried deep in the earth. It must crack open to sprout. Without breaking, there is no growth. You too must be willing to break open. Every disappointment, every loss, every sleepless night that feels unbearable is an invitation to evolve. You can curse the process or you can surrender to it and learn. Pain strips away illusion. It removes the noise and reveals truth. It reminds you that nothing in life is truly yours except the strength you build through endurance. When you embrace pain instead of resisting it, a quiet shift happens inside. You stop asking, "Why me?" and start asking, "What is this trying to teach me?" You begin to see challenges not as punishment, but as preparation. Each trial refines you, hardship carves depth into your being. The more you face, the less you fear. Because pain, when met with awareness, transforms into wisdom. It teaches humility, patience, and presence, qualities that no comfort can ever offer. In the beginning, your instinct will always be to escape. The mind seeks relief, the heart seeks ease. But if you run from every discomfort, you also run from your destiny. True discipline is not just doing what is easy, it is standing firm when everything inside you trembles. It is breathing calmly in the middle of chaos, trusting that the storm has come not to punish you but to cleanse you. When pain arrives, do not shrink, look it in the eye, feel it fully, and let it refine your edges. Every great transformation in life carries pain as its companion. The caterpillar must dissolve before becoming the butterfly. The athlete must tear muscles before they grow stronger. The mind must be stretched before it can understand. Growth and pain are twins. You cannot have one without the other. And so, to reject pain is to reject your own evolution. There is a strange beauty in pain when you stop fighting it. You begin to realize that it has purpose. It is the fire that burns away weakness, the silence that deepens understanding, the mirror that reveals who you truly are when everything superficial is gone. You are not fragile, you were built to withstand the storms of life. Each time you survive what you thought would break you, you are reborn with greater strength and clarity. So the next time pain visits you, in the form of rejection, loss, or inner turmoil, don't close the door, sit with it, listen to it. Let it show you what still needs healing, what still needs discipline, what still holds you back. Pain will not stay forever, but the wisdom it leaves behind will. Do not pray for an easy path, pray for the strength to walk the difficult one with grace, because the ones who learn to embrace pain become unstoppable. They no longer fear what life brings, they welcome it as part of their training. And one day, you will look back and realize that the moments that hurt the most were the ones that shaped you the most. Pain did not break you, it awakened you. And from that awakening, a new kind of power was born, calm, grounded, and untouchable. Discomfort is the doorway most people never walk through. The moment it appears, they turn back, thinking something has gone wrong. But in truth, that is the very moment something real begins. Discomfort is not punishment, it is invitation. It's life's way of saying, here lies your next lesson. Yet most resist it, escape it, silence it. You must learn to do the opposite, to lean in, to listen, to let discomfort become your greatest teacher. When you sit in discomfort, you meet the parts of yourself that comfort keeps hidden. It strips away the layers of illusion, the stories you tell yourself about what you can or cannot do. Discomfort is honest. It doesn't flatter you. It confronts you. It shows you where you are still weak, where you still hesitate, where fear still rules. And in that confrontation lies your transformation. Think of the way muscles grow. They do not strengthen by rest, they grow through strain. The fibers must tear to rebuild stronger. Your mind and spirit work the same way. Every time you step into discomfort, whether it's waking up earlier than you want, facing a difficult truth, or pursuing a goal that terrifies you, you stretch the boundaries of who you are. What once felt unbearable becomes natural. What once seemed impossible becomes your new baseline. This is how discipline is born, not through comfort, but through repeated friction with discomfort. The world teaches you to seek ease, to design a life without struggle. But ease dulls the edge of your potential. It keeps you safe, but small. Discomfort, on the other hand, sharpens you. It reveals your rawness. It exposes your limits, not to humiliate you, but to show you exactly where to grow. Every time you choose the harder path, every time you step outside what feels safe, you are writing a new story for yourself. One written not by fear, but by courage. There will be moments when your body shakes and your mind screams for relief. The instinct will be to stop, to retreat into the warmth of comfort again. But if you can breathe through it, even for one more minute, you will discover something miraculous. The discomfort begins to lose its power over you. You stop running from it, and instead, you absorb its lesson. You realize that the pain of growth is never as heavy as the pain of regret. Discomfort teaches resilience. It teaches you that your limits are not walls, but thresholds. It teaches humility. Because when you struggle, you remember what it means to be human. It teaches patience. Because real change never comes on your timeline. And it teaches faith. Because to walk willingly into discomfort is to trust that there is meaning in the challenge, even when you cannot yet see it. Most people want transformation without tension, mastery without mistakes, evolution without effort. But the truth is simple: no great soul was ever formed in comfort. Every leader, every monk, every master, every warrior, they all walked through fire, not because they enjoyed pain, but because they understood its purpose. They made peace with discomfort until it became a friend. So when discomfort finds you, in the form of self-doubt, fatigue, or fear, don't run. Let it sit beside you. Ask it what it came to teach. It may ask you to let go of laziness, to break a habit, to face your shadow, to sharpen your focus. Whatever it asks, listen. Because discomfort never visits without reason, always carries wisdom within it. You must remember, comfort is a cage and discomfort is the key. The more you seek the easy path, the more you weaken the spirit. But when you choose discomfort willingly, you become free. Free from fear, free from hesitation, free from the limits you once believed in. So walk boldly into the places that make you uneasy. Do not resist the tension, grow through it. Because one day, you will look back and realize that discomfort was never there to break you. It was there to introduce you to the strongest version of yourself, the one who no longer runs from life, but meets it fully, strength, calm, and unshakable presence. Discipline in the dark is where your true self is born. It is easy to be consistent when the world is watching, when the lights are bright, and when applause fills the air. But when the room is silent, when no one will ever know what you did or didn't do, that is when your discipline reveals its truth. The unseen hours, that is where greatness hides. What you do in the dark is the foundation that supports everything you will ever show in the light. Most people crave recognition. They want to be noticed for their effort, praised for their progress, validated for their consistency. But the real warriors of discipline train where no one claps. They work when the world sleeps, not because anyone will see it, but because they have made a promise to themselves. The dark is sacred because it strips away every external reason. It leaves only one question echoing in your mind: will you still do the work when no one sees you? Think of the roots of a great tree. They grow underground, silent and unseen. No one applauds them, yet they are the reason the tree stands tall through every storm. Your unseen discipline. The study when you're tired, the repetition when you're uninspired, the early mornings, the quiet preparation, these are your roots. Without them, your success will wither the moment pressure comes. But if your roots run deep, if your discipline in the dark is pure, then no wind, no failure, no judgment can shake you. There will be nights when the silence feels heavy, when doubt creeps in and whispers, "What's the point?" It is in those moments that you must remember, the point is not the praise. The point is the person you become. Every act of discipline performed in solitude strengthens the bond between you and your purpose. You are not just building results, you are building reliability within your soul. You are proving to yourself that your word holds weight even when the world is asleep. It is easy to move when eyes are upon you, but mastery begins when you no longer need witnesses. In the dark, there are no shortcuts, no pretending, no noise, only truth. You cannot fake effort when no one is watching. You cannot perform sincerity. You can only face yourself. And that is why the dark is powerful. It reveals who you are without masks, without noise, without approval. When you learn to love the quiet grind, you begin to rise differently. You stop chasing validation because you realize that self-respect feels stronger than applause. You no longer wait for perfect conditions, you create them in silence. Every unseen repetition, every invisible hour becomes a deposit into your inner strength. And one day when you step into the light, the world will call it talent, but you will know it was discipline in the dark. The path of unseen work is not glamorous. It is filled with monotony, fatigue, and solitude. But within that stillness lies power. You must learn to find beauty in that quiet struggle, to feel gratitude for the loneliness because it is shaping something unshakable inside you. The darkness is not your punishment, it is your forge. It burns away weakness, distraction, and ego until only focus remains. So when you find yourself working while others rest, remember that this is your sacred space. This is where your future is being built, moment by moment, in the quiet. Keep going, even when the world offers no applause. Keep building, even when progress feels invisible. Because discipline in the dark is what makes you unstoppable in the light. And when that day comes, when the curtain finally rises and the world begins to notice, you won't need to explain how you got there. you'll simply smile, knowing that while others waited for the spotlight, you were already shining in the shadows. The strongest decisions are not made when you feel ready. They are made when you feel everything, yet act on nothing but truth. Emotionless decisions are not cold or heartless. They are disciplined. They come from clarity, not chaos. When you reach the highest level of self-mastery, your choices no longer depend on how you feel in the moment. You do what needs to be done, whether you are tired, afraid, doubtful, or uninspired. You follow principle, not mood. You move with purpose, not impulse. The mind loves drama. It feeds on emotion, fear, excitement, anxiety, desire. Each emotion pulls you in a different direction, scattering your focus like leaves in the wind. But discipline is the stillness beneath that storm. When you detach from emotion, you gain the power to choose direction instead of being dragged by it. You stop reacting to life and you begin responding with precision. That is what separates those who drift from those who lead. Imagine a warrior standing in the chaos of battle. Arrows fall, noise surrounds him, but his breath remains calm. He does not move out of anger, nor fear, nor pride. His every movement is measured, his every strike intentional. This is the same mindset you must build. Calm in motion, steady in uncertainty. When you master emotionless decision-making, you no longer need perfect conditions to act. You become your own condition. Most people make decisions only when they feel like it. They work when they're motivated, speak when they're confident, move when they're comfortable. But the path of mastery demands something greater. It demands that you act not because it feels good, but because it is right. Emotionless does not mean numb, it means balanced. It means you feel the emotion fully, but it no longer dictates your direction. Like water in a deep lake, you remain still even when the surface ripples. You must understand, emotions are temporary guests, not permanent truths. If you build your life around them, you will live in constant fluctuation. Joy will lift you, sorrow will drop you, and fear will paralyze you. But when your decisions come from alignment, from discipline, from principle, from the quiet knowing of what must be done, your path becomes steady no matter the weather inside you. This is how inner power is cultivated through detachment, not avoidance. There will be days when your emotions scream at you, when your heart says, give up, and your mind says, slow down. But the disciplined self listens to neither. You acknowledge the feeling, bow to it, and move forward anyway. That's when your spirit becomes unshakable. You no longer chase temporary comfort, you chase truth. You no longer fear failure, you fear hesitation. You learn that every moment of emotion is simply a test of your consistency. The greatest victories in life are born from emotionless clarity. They are born in moments when you choose to move forward without reassurance, when you choose to act even while doubt lives in your chest, when you no longer let sadness slow you or excitement distract you, you begin to move with divine precision. You become like a blade, sharp, silent, and steady. This doesn't mean you reject feeling, it means you transcend it. You allow emotion to exist without letting it steer your actions. You breathe through the waves until they pass, and only then do you act from a place of peace, not pressure. Emotion may color your experience, but discipline must decide your direction. So the next time your emotions rise, pause. Don't rush to act and don't collapse under their weight. Step back, observe, and ask yourself what needs to be done right now. Then do it, not because it feels good, but because it's aligned with who you've chosen to become. In that moment, you will know freedom, Because the one who controls their emotions controls their destiny. And the one who makes decisions without being ruled by feeling cannot be moved by anything. Not fear, not doubt, not failure. They move only with truth. There is a power that few people ever discover. The quiet, unshakable rhythm of a life built on discipline. It is not glamorous. It is not loud, but it is unstoppable. An unshakable routine is not just a schedule, it is a declaration. It says, no matter what happens around me, I remain unmoved within. It is the invisible armor that protects your focus from distraction, your purpose from laziness, and your spirit from chaos. Every morning, the undisciplined person wakes up waiting to feel motivated. They search for the right mood, the right time, the right energy. But the disciplined one does not wait. They rise, move, and begin, not because they feel like it, but because they have already decided who they are. You must understand this. Motivation is fleeting, but rhythm is eternal. Once you build the rhythm, it carries you even when your emotions don't. Think of the ocean. Its waves rise and fall, yet the tide always returns. That is what your life must become, a tide that moves with certainty, regardless of how the weather feels. An unshakable routine is not a prison, it is freedom. It frees you from hesitation, from overthinking, from the noise of indecision. You no longer ask, should I do this today? You simply do it. And in doing it, you build strength that cannot be taken away. But most people abandon routine the moment life becomes uncomfortable. They want results without repetition, transformation without consistency. Yet all mastery is born from monotony. The repetition that bores most people is the same repetition that builds the unbreakable. The mind rebels against it, whispers that you deserve rest, ease, variety. But discipline answers with silence. It simply continues. The true warriors of life are not those who act in bursts of passion, but those who remain steady in seasons of stillness. Every day, your routine is a conversation with your future. Each action says, I am serious about my path. Each repetition says, I am becoming who I meant to be. The moment you stop honoring that rhythm, you stop communicating with your higher self. That's why consistency feels sacred, because it is a prayer in motion. It is devotion disguised as discipline. There will be mornings when your body aches, when your mind resists, when your heart questions why you're doing all this. But that's exactly when your power is tested. The world doesn't shape the disciplined one. They shape themselves through routine. You will come to realize that your greatest freedom is not doing whatever you want, but having built a structure strong enough to hold your potential. Routine becomes your sanctuary, a temple you return to when the world outside grows noisy and uncertain. And here's the truth: the more unshakable your routine, the calmer your mind becomes. Because you are no longer debating with yourself, you no longer live by chance. You live by choice. Every day flows into the next like a perfectly aligned sequence of small victories. It's not about perfection, it's about presence. Showing up every day, no matter how small the step, creates momentum so powerful that it becomes your identity. You begin to notice something miraculous. While others crumble under chaos, you remain still. While others seek motivation, you embody it. Your routine becomes your spine, straight grounded and unbending. It becomes your proof that you can rely on yourself. Remember this: what you do daily builds what you believe internally. Your habits carve your destiny. Your discipline creates your peace. And when your routine becomes unshakable, no storm, no opinion, no failure can pull you off course. You become like a mountain. The winds may howl, but you remain unmoved. So rise each day with intention, Move with purpose. Honor your rhythm as if your future depends on it, because it does. In the end, greatness is not built in moments of excitement, but in the quiet repetition of what others find too simple to sustain. The unshakable routine is not a cage, it is the key. The key that unlocks the door to your highest self every single day. There comes a moment when progress is no longer something you chase, it becomes something you breathe. It consumes you, shapes you, and burns quietly beneath your skin. This is the obsession with progress, a sacred hunger that drives you not because you want more, but because you refuse to remain the same. When this energy awakens inside you, comfort begins to suffocate. Rest feels uneasy. Stagnation feels like death. You start to crave growth the way a drowning man craves air. You begin to see every day as an opportunity to refine yourself, to become sharper, calmer, stronger, and more aware. You no longer move for praise, for validation, or for recognition. You move because you have seen what's possible when you commit fully to evolution. You start to measure progress not by how much you gain, but by how much you shed. Fear, laziness, doubt, excuses. Day becomes a battle against the weaker parts of yourself. And each victory, no matter how small, feels sacred. This kind of obsession is not unhealthy. It is awakening. It is not about being perfect. It is about being relentless. You stop competing with others because you realize no one else is walking your path. You begin to live in alignment with a silent promise that you will not leave this life as the same person who entered it. Progress becomes your form of gratitude, gratitude for the time you've been given, for the breath in your lungs, for the chance to transform potential into power. You see, progress doesn't always announce itself with grand results. Often, it hides in the quiet moments when no one is watching, when you choose discipline over distraction, growth over comfort, truth over illusion. It's in the seconds when you resist the easy path, in the nights when you study while others sleep, in the mornings when you move even though you ache. Each act of persistence becomes a thread in the fabric of mastery. Slowly, those threads weave into the life you once only dreamed of. To be obsessed with progress means you are no longer chasing temporary highs. You are anchored in purpose. You don't need the world to applaud because your satisfaction comes from seeing your own evolution. You start to see how far you've come, how the person you once were would be amazed at the strength you now carry. And you realize something profound. Progress itself is peace. It's not about rushing to reach the summit, about knowing you're still climbing. But obsession demands honesty. It asks you to confront your excuses, your comfort zones, and your fears. It demands sacrifice of time, ego, and sometimes relationships. It asks you to give up the version of you that settles for good enough, because good enough is the death of greatness. And you were not born to live halfway. You were born to rise fully. You were born to evolve endlessly. You must nurture this fire carefully. Obsession with progress should never consume your humanity. It should refine it. It should make you more disciplined, but also more compassionate, more powerful, but also more patient. True progress is balanced. It expands both your strength and your stillness. It makes you effective in the world, yet at peace within yourself. When you wake up every day with that deep hunger to improve, not for recognition, but for mastery, you begin to live differently. The world may not notice the changes immediately, but you will feel them in every breath. You will sense it in your focus, in your calmness, in your unwavering ability to keep moving forward when others quit. So let this obsession take root in you. Let it guide your choices, your habits, your discipline. Do not chase perfection, chase progress. Perfection is an illusion, but progress is eternal. Every step forward, no matter how small, brings you closer to the life your potential has been calling you toward. When you live with an obsession for progress, you stop counting days. And the days begin to count you. You become unstoppable, not because you never fail, but because you never stop evolving. And in that constant evolution, you find your highest truth, that growth itself is the purpose of life. There will come a point on your journey where your eyes cannot yet see the reward, but your soul must keep walking. That is where true discipline lives, in faith. Faith in the process is not blind optimism. It is the deep understanding that growth takes time and transformation demands patience. It is trusting that every small step, every silent struggle, every unseen effort is building something magnificent within you, even when the results are not visible. The most disciplined souls understand that the seed does not bloom the moment it's planted. There is a season of darkness, of stillness, where nothing seems to happen. But beneath the soil, life is moving. Roots are spreading, strength is forming, and the foundation of greatness is being built where no one can see. That is what faith in the process looks like. The courage to keep watering your dreams when nothing appears to grow. Most people give up, not because they can't reach their goal, but because they lose belief during the waiting. The silence between effort and reward feels unbearable. But you must learn to embrace that silence. You must train your heart to trust what your eyes cannot yet confirm. Faith is the discipline of holding steady when the results are delayed. It is the strength to whisper, "I will keep going," even when your mind screams, "It's not working." There will be days when you question everything, when you wonder if your sacrifices are in vain, when you doubt your path, when progress feels like a mirage. In those moments, remember, the process is shaping you more than the destination ever could. Every moment of waiting refines your patience. Every challenge strengthens your character. Every setback deepens your wisdom. You are being sculpted, not punished. The universe delays nothing that you are truly ready for. Faith in the process means accepting that discipline will sometimes feel thankless. You will work hard without applause, you will give your best without validation, and you will improve in silence while others seem to move faster. But discipline is not about comparison, it is about alignment. You are not behind, you are being prepared. You are being carved into the person capable of holding the success you seek. Without that preparation, even if you achieved your dream today, you would not yet be strong enough to sustain it. There is a quiet beauty in trusting the process. It allows you to find peace amidst uncertainty. You stop rushing. You stop forcing outcomes. You begin to flow with patience, knowing that everything unfolds in its right time. Faith turns frustration into focus. It teaches you to find joy in showing up, in doing the work, in walking the path, not just in reaching the end. When you work with faith, every effort becomes sacred because it is part of your becoming. The greatest proof of discipline is consistency without evidence. When you can keep showing up, keep training, keep learning, and keep believing without visible progress. That is the mark of an awakened soul. That is when the process itself transforms you. Because the moment you stop needing reassurance, you begin to move from a place of inner power. So when the nights grow long and your results are still unseen, remind yourself that growth is never wasted. Every repetition, every lesson, every test has meaning. You are building something eternal. Patience, resilience, self-trust. Those qualities are worth more than any external achievement. Do not rush your evolution. The process knows exactly what you need when you need it. Your only task is to remain faithful, to keep showing up with discipline and belief. Because one day, without warning, everything you've been working for will begin to bloom, not by luck, but because you never stopped nurturing it. So keep walking, even through uncertainty. Keep building, even in silence. Trust that every disciplined step is part of a divine rhythm moving you toward your highest self. The process has never failed anyone who refused to quit. And when your time comes, you will look back and realize it was not the result that changed you, it was the faith that carried you there. The moment you stop needing applause, you become unstoppable. True discipline is not just about what you do when people are watching. It's about what you continue doing when no one notices at all. Detachment from validation is one of the hardest lessons in mastery, because the human heart craves to be seen, to be acknowledged, to be told it's enough. But the higher you climb, the more you must let go of that craving. You must learn to walk in silence, content with your own approval, fueled not by praise, but by purpose. There will be times when your effort goes unseen, when your progress is invisible to others, when your dedication is misunderstood. And it is in those moments that your discipline is tested most deeply. Because it's easy to move forward when people are cheering for you, but when the voices fade, when the lights go out, when the world looks away, will you still move with the same strength? That is where the unbreakable are forged. That is where real mastery is born, in the invisible work no one claps for. The need for validation is a chain disguised as comfort, binds you to the opinions of others, making your self-worth dependent on their recognition. One day you feel high because they admire you, and the next you feel lost because they don't. Discipline means cutting that chain. It means realizing that the moment you start working for approval, you stop working for purpose. The disciplined mind moves in silence because it knows the work itself is the reward. Detach from the illusion that you need to be seen to be valuable. Think of the roots of a great tree, buried, unseen, but vital. They hold the entire structure together, feeding life upward from darkness. You are that root. The depth of your unseen effort determines the strength of your visible life. Every hour spent alone in focus, every sacrifice no one thanks you for, every decision that prioritizes growth over comfort. That is the invisible foundation of greatness. You don't need to announce it, only need to keep growing. But detachment is not coldness, it is freedom. It is the ability to move with peace, whether you are praised or ignored, loved or doubted. When you no longer depend on validation, you act from truth, not from fear. You no longer perform, you express. You no longer chase, you create. Your energy stops scattering toward the approval of others and begins concentrating on becoming who you are meant to be. That is the calm fire of the disciplined spirit. There's a silent dignity in working quietly, in keeping your focus inward while the world rushes outward. You begin to find a serenity in knowing that your worth is not up for public negotiation. You stop posting every step, planning every choice, proving every decision. You simply live your truth consistently, humbly, and powerfully. And the irony is this: the less you seek validation, the more authentic you become, and the world eventually takes notice. Not because you demanded it, but because your discipline made it undeniable. This detachment doesn't mean you reject love or appreciation. It means you no longer depend on them to move. You receive praise with humility and criticism with calmness, because neither defines you. You know who you are, and that knowledge cannot be borrowed from anyone else's opinion. That is freedom, the kind that no amount of applause can give and no amount of rejection can take away. The disciplined life is built in silence, shaped by consistency, and crowned by peace. You are not here to impress, you are here to express what excellence looks like through your actions. You are not here to prove, you are here to become. When you detach from validation, you step into a higher state of awareness, one where your purpose becomes your guide and your discipline becomes your compass. So let the world speak when it wants and stay silent when it doesn't. Let the noise fade, let the opinions pass. Your path is yours alone to walk. Work quietly, move deliberately, build unshakably. Because the truth is simple, those who are driven by validation are fragile, but those who are driven by purpose cannot be broken. There comes a moment on the path of discipline when words are no longer enough, when teaching, preaching, or advising others means little, because the truest power is not in what you say, but in what you become. Becoming the example is the highest form of discipline. It means embodying the very values you speak of, living in such alignment that your presence itself becomes a lesson. You no longer need to convince anyone of anything. Your life becomes your message. Every action, every choice, every quiet decision in the dark begins to form a mirror that others will see themselves in. People do not follow what you say, they follow what you are. The disciplined person does not seek followers or admiration. They simply live with such consistency, such calm power, that their way of being naturally inspires others to rise. That is the quiet authority of someone who has mastered themselves. You see, becoming the example is not about perfection. It's about integrity. It's about doing what you said you would do, even when no one is there to hold you accountable. It's about standing firm when others waver, showing patience when chaos surrounds you, and keeping your promises when they no longer feel convenient. It's in these moments that true leadership is born, not from control, but from embodiment. When you live your truth so deeply that it influences others without a single word, you have become the example. Discipline makes you magnetic. People can sense the steadiness in you, the reliability, the strength, the peace. You don't need to declare that you're disciplined. It radiates through your actions. You become the person others look at and silently think, if they can live like that, so can I. That is the power of silent influence. And it is more transformative than 1,000 motivational speeches. But make no mistake, becoming the example comes with weight. You cannot hide from your own standards. You cannot expect from others what you refuse to live yourself. Every time you choose excuses over effort, every time you speak wisdom but act with weakness, you chip away at your own integrity. To be the example means to live under a higher law, one where self-honesty replaces comfort and personal excellence becomes non-negotiable. You will not always feel ready for this. You will stumble, you will doubt, you will question whether you're capable of carrying that responsibility. But remember, the example is not flawless, it is authentic. It is someone who keeps going despite fear, who admits mistakes but never abandons growth. Your strength will not come from appearing perfect, it will come from being real and relentless in your pursuit of better. When you commit to becoming the example, everything in your life starts to align. Your thoughts sharpen, your words carry weight, and your presence calms the storms around you. People start to notice the difference, not because you speak louder, but because you move with clarity. You become a living reflection of discipline itself, quiet, steady, consistent, and powerful. The greatest reward is not the admiration of others, but the peace that comes from knowing you are who you claim to be, that your actions no longer betray your words, that your character no longer shifts with circumstance. You begin to walk through life as a force of alignment, balanced, grounded, and true. And here lies the secret. When you become the example, you no longer need to chase influence. You are influence. Your energy teaches where your words end. Your discipline becomes a light, not one that blinds others, but one that shows them what is possible. So, live in such a way that your actions whisper louder than any speech could shout. Let your discipline be so unwavering that it becomes its own form of guidance. Be the one who proves that mastery is real, that calm strength exists, that consistency can outlast chaos. Because in the end, the highest level of discipline is not about controlling others. It is about mastering yourself so deeply that your very existence becomes a path for others to follow. Live quietly. Move purposefully. Become the proof. Because when you become the example, you no longer need to talk about the power of discipline. You are the power of discipline. Discipline is not punishment, it is liberation. It frees you from the chains of inconsistency, from the weight of regret, from the weakness of waiting for motivation. It teaches you that every moment of effort counts, that every choice is a seed, and that every act of will shapes your destiny. To live with discipline is to declare that you will not be ruled by emotions, comfort, or the noise of the world. You will be ruled by purpose. You will walk with inner strength, whether anyone is watching or not. There will be days when your mind screams to stop, when the path feels lonely, when the world around you moves faster than your progress. But remember, every master once walked through that same darkness. Every warrior has felt the same doubt. The difference is that they did not quit. They stayed when others ran. They moved when others froze. They trusted the unseen rhythm of their own growth. And so must you. Discipline is not something you practice once. It is a way of living. It demands that you show up even when your body aches, that you stay calm when frustration rises, and that you keep faith when results seem far away. It requires that you stop explaining yourself and start proving yourself through quiet, consistent action. Because your words can inspire, but your example can transform. You must learn to stand still when distractions call your name. Learn to move forward when your emotions beg you to rest. Learn to breathe through discomfort and see pain not as punishment, but as purification. Each sacrifice you make today becomes a foundation of strength for tomorrow. Every early morning, every moment of silence, every repetition that no one sees, they are all sacred offerings to your own evolution. Do not chase motivation, build structure. Do not seek approval, build integrity. Do not wait for the right time. Discipline is the right time. Your power grows in the moments when you act despite resistance. Each time you say no to weakness, you say yes to mastery. The scariest level of discipline is not about how much you can control your body, but how deeply you can control your mind. When you reach that level, life no longer controls you. You control life, so keep walking the path even when it feels endless. Keep showing up even when you feel unseen. Keep trusting the process even when the results are invisible, because the disciplined one always wins, not by force, but by persistence. The world eventually bows to those who refuse to bow to their own excuses. And now, take a moment to close your eyes. Breathe in deeply and feel the stillness that lives beneath your thoughts. This is where strength begins, not in action alone, but in awareness. Whisper to yourself quietly, may my mind remain still, may my purpose remain strong, and may my actions remain aligned with truth. May discipline become your silent companion, guiding you through the noise of life. May you find peace in the effort, faith in the unseen, and strength in the stillness. May you walk this path not with arrogance, but with humble power, the kind that needs no validation, no recognition, no applause. Only truth, only presence, only purpose. And when the storms of life rise, may you stand like a mountain, calm, unshakable, and grounded in what you have built within. Because the scariest level of discipline is not meant to frighten you. It is meant to awaken you. It is meant to show you that when you master yourself, you become unstoppable. So go now. Walk with clarity, move with calmness, and live as the example of what discipline can create. Not tomorrow, not someday, but now. This very moment is your test. This very breath is your opportunity. Become the proof that discipline is not suffering, it is freedom. And let every step forward be your prayer.